A career consultant does a range of things, basically depending on the needs of the people that they're talking to. So generally we make people happier at work, I think. We open them up to possibilities. Typically somebody will come in doom and gloom, basically, not happy, can't get a job, sent out 400 applications. And what starts to happen is they start to think the problem is them, and that the reason they're not getting a job or the reason they're not happy at work is because there's a deficit in them. And what we help them do is work out that it's probably more what I'd call a technical issue. So their resume may not be very good, or their interview skills may not be very good, or they may be quite blinkered in thinking about other opportunities rather than what they're currently doing. Mm-hmm. So my company's logo, when I chose the logo, I hesitated because it's a little bit corny. It's a stylised version of somebody reaching for the stars, but it is fundamentally what my belief is, that if you work with a good career specialist, you can soar. And also, you never need us again. So that's part of our aim as well. If you go to a good career specialist, they transfer the skills to you so that then you're on your own and you're fine.
There would be a lot of people that have struggled to find work, though, that would be listening to you and thinking, oh, sure, I've tried everything. I've tried everything. I get a lot of texts like that, whenever we do talk about the job market here in this state. Do you think South Australia has it harder in finding jobs and finding the jobs that people want to do?
There's no doubt that it's harder in South Australia, but if I look historically, I've been doing this work for about 16 years. It was so hard. I started in 2000. It was so hard to get a job back then. Manufacturing companies were taking over each other. There was nothing in manufacturing. It was a very shallow job market. And even with the sort of help that we could give people, they would take typically 7 to 9 months to get a job. It's nowhere near that anymore. So people get jobs much faster. Mm-hmm. There's a lot more depth to society, to the working world in Adelaide now.
Well, what's the most common mistake that people make, do you think?
Gee, it's a bit of a chicken and an egg. Okay, the most common mistake is people apply for jobs in the visible job market. And I used to do it, so it doesn't mean you're silly if you do it. It just
what
means,
does that mean, though, the
okay,
visible job market?
That means that they wait for a job to appear on Seek or in the paper, and then they apply. Or they go and register with a recruitment agency. That's what's typically called the visible job market. Mm-hmm. And it's regarded as true, not a truism, that 80% of jobs are actually never advertised. So people who are only looking at the visible job market are missing out on about 80% of the possibilities out there.
Is that where the whole idea of you need to know someone comes from, or the old boys network? I mean, it seems quite exclusionary and wouldn't be overly good governance, I would imagine, if your company or you were hiring and not actually going to market.
It's very scary to hire. I've done it myself. You put the ad in the paper. I had over 400 people apply for a part-time job. So for me to choose from those 400 people and know that I'm committing to somebody is very scary. So I think it's a normal human response to favour somebody who you've either met before or who comes very strongly recommended by somebody you trust. My role is not to get involved in whether that's a good approach or not. Mm-hmm. My role is to help an individual navigate their way through the job process so that if that's how the world works, they do it and they do it with skill.
Okay. On ABC Radio Adelaide this morning, you're listening to Catherine Cunningham. She is a career expert and a career consultant. She's actually also written a book on this, saying My Career Rules, Recipes to Crack the Career Code in 21st Century Australia. So you said one of the big mistakes is that people are only applying when they see the ads, and there's so much more out there. So how do they find that? How do you get to those other jobs that aren't visible?
The best way is what's called job search networking, and everybody misunderstands it. So everybody thinks networking is either going and having a champagne with somebody and schmoozing at a function.
And taking their business card.
Or shoving your business card under their nose. Or the more common mistake is they think that they ask their mates if they know somebody who needs them. And I call that sending out feelers. And it's a bit like an octopus. You have to hope that your feelers come back with a job.
Yeah.
But if they don't come back with a job, you've used your contact group with no result. So good job search networking is when yes, you go to your friend first, but you sit down face to face with your friend and you say, look, here's what I do, in case you don't really know what I do.
Yeah, so many people. I know. I think that all the time. Where I go, oh yeah, such and such works in there, and I think, what exactly is that? Yeah.
I mean, your cousins are usually 5 years out of date. And you say, here's what I do, and here's what I'm looking for, and I'd like you to think about who you think I should be talking to. And here's the hard bit. You then get on the phone and you ring the stranger.
All right. So have you got any tips for that type of cold calling, ringing a stranger and saying,
it's not a cold call, it's a warm call.
A warm call.
Okay,
all right.
I do cold calls. Cold calls are totally different, totally horrible. So a warm call, yes, there's an absolute cake recipe. So when you do job search networking, there is a recipe. If you're really a natural at it, you can stray from the recipe, but if you're like me and you're not a natural, you stick to the recipe. So there's 4 precise things you say in that phone call.
Okay, well, you warm call me then. Okay. Here we go.
Okay, hi Ali, my name's Catherine Cunningham, and I was talking to Steve the other day and he recommended that I give you a call.
Oh, see, good, already. Oh, right, okay, yeah, blah, 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 yep. See, now, what can I do for you?
Okay, I'm a career specialist and I'm just looking at opportunities in the Adelaide marketplace. I'm interested in perhaps moving into the corporate side of career work. And John thought you might be a good person to give me your advice, and he thought that you would be very helpful to me.
Okay, and how do you think I could be of help?
Well, I just thought it might be great to catch up face to face, and I've got some time next week. I'm perhaps wondering whether maybe Tuesday morning or Thursday morning suits you, or I could do an afternoon as well.
I was going to say Tuesday and Thursday
better.
I'm normally on air, but yeah. Okay, so then you're getting to the point where you can sit down and do a face-to-face meeting with them.
With that stranger.
Okay.
And you either hope that that stranger offers you a job, or then you get 2 further names from them and you go to that person.
So what about, though, if you are looking at an entry-level job or a processing job or, a job... See, I see that working maybe at a higher level of employment, or am I misstepping there?
It tends to work. It works at every level, but it works best at entry-level young graduates, I think mainly because people really want to help young graduates get a start in life. People love it. And it works well, of course, at the senior level. I think the middle level, it takes a lot of determination from the person doing it. If you're doing the straight entry level, cold call is good. I've done cold calling. I've got my waitressing jobs. 4th place I went to, knock, 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 here I am. Have you got a job for me? It tends to work best at entry level. It does also work well at the top levels, probably, of the corporate market. I do cold calls all the time. Middle level again. Most Australians won't do it.
No. Well, you say most Australians. Why not? Will others?
Horrified.
When
I was in Malaysia, it was the opposite. So Chinese Malaysians, when I was there, were very comfortable cold calling. They didn't like doing networking. Malay Malaysians were there with the opposite. They loved doing networking. Very, very well networked culture.
Yeah, right. So you mentioned the younger or the entry level for a career. What would you say to people, because I hear a lot of people on my text line or calling the show who are older Australians and feel discriminated against because they have either been let go or they just can't get back into the workforce?
In a way, I find that the saddest group of people because I think it's so unnecessary. So 16 years I've been doing this, and the first thing that somebody over 50 would typically say to me would be, I'm not going to get another job. And the people I work with, they all get jobs. We may need to tweak things. We may need to suggest that they modernise their attire. We may need to suggest haircuts. If you're over 50, I think there's no doubt that the antennae of the employer is up, worried about you. Is this person going to be old-fashioned? Is this person going to be a nitpicker? Are they going to resist change?
That's disgraceful.
It is.
Absolutely disgraceful.
Are they going to be a technophobe? And so we work with people to make sure that they soothe the fears of any employer in relation to those issues. So I don't find that with my clients. And I get so sad when I read about it in the paper. Anybody over 50 can't get a job. With help they can. With good help they can.
Okay. So warm calling is one thing. What else? What's one other thing that we could do? Or if anybody is looking for work or maybe even contemplating a career shift, what is one thing that they could be also doing now to make that an easier move?
Interview skills.
Right.
In the end, whether you do networking, whether you do job in the paper, job on Seek, there will be some sort of interview process, and that's the deal breaker. So if you're not good at interviews, you take a lot longer to convert. I talk about a conversion rate, which is how many jobs do you have to apply for before you actually get the offer. And what we want to do is minimise the conversion rate. And that, unfortunately or fortunately, depends on interview skills.
Okay.
The job doesn't go to the best person. It goes to the slickest performer at interviews,
Oh,
all too often.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
and that is just a horrible way to be, isn't it?
It
Because, I mean, how many organisations do you know that end up hiring someone that it's not working out and then get caught in the trap of not being able to move them on or fire them or anything like that?
Absolutely.
Well, you've certainly been a very interesting chat this morning as a career consultant. Thank you very much, Catherine Cunningham. It's been lovely to have you in.
My pleasure. Thanks, Ali.